In a world that feels like it's always rushing forward, where the hum of notifications, the weight of deadlines, and the shadow of uncertainty press against us, fear and anxiety often slip into our hearts like uninvited guests. They sit with us in quiet moments, whispering doubts about tomorrow, tightening our breath, making us feel as though we're standing at the edge of something vast and unknown. But what if there was a way to soften those whispers? What if, in the gentle wisdom of an ancient story, we could find a path to peace? Picture yourself now, resting in a calm space, letting the day's worries fade as we begin a journey together, a journey through a Buddhist parable that has guided countless souls across turbulent waters. This is a story of a traveler, a river, and a truth that can light the way through fear. Once, in a time long ago, there was a man named Arjun, a wanderer with a heart full of dreams and a mind heavy with doubts. He had heard tales of a city of peace, a place where fear dissolved like mist under the morning sun. Arjun traveled through tangled forests and over steep mountains, his steps driven by hope, until one day he came to a river. Its waters roared wild and untamed, churning with such force that no bridge could stand against it. On the far shore, he could just macushion the faint glow of the city he sought, but the river stood like a wall between him and his dream. Arjun sat by the riverbank, his heart pounding. The water's roar seemed to echo his fears. What if he tried to cross and was swept away? What if he'd never reached the peace he longed for? The more he stared at the river, the louder his thoughts grew, each one a wave pulling him deeper into despair. Hours passed, and he remained frozen, his dreams slipping further away. Then, as the sun dipped low, an old monk appeared, her robes worn thin by time, but her eyes bright with a quiet knowing. She sat beside him, her presence like a gentle breeze. "Why do you linger here, child?" she asked softly. Arjun's voice trembled. "I'm afraid. The river is too wild, and I don't know how to cross." The monk's smile was warm, like a hearth fire. "The river is not your fear. Your fear is the story you tell yourself about the river. It is not the water that holds you back, but the weight of your thoughts." Her words settled into Arjun's heart, stirring something deep within. She pointed to the scattered branches and vines along the riverbank. "Build a raft," she said. "It need not be perfect, only enough to carry you." Arjun hesitated, his hands unsteady. "But what if it fails?" "Then you will learn," the monk replied. "The river does not care for your perfection. It asks only for your courage." With her guidance, Arjun began to gather branches, weaving them with vines under the monk's watchful gaze. The raft was rough, uneven, nothing like the grand boats he'd imagined. But as he pushed it into the water, the monk's voice followed him. "Trust the raft and trust yourself." His heart still raced as he paddled, the river tugging at his frail craft. Yet with each stroke, something shifted. The fear didn't vanish, but it grew quieter, like a storm passing in the distance. The far shore drew closer, and when his feet touched solid ground, he looked back at the battered raft, now drifting away. The city of peace was no longer a distant glow, it was here, in the stillness of his heart. This story, passed down through generations, carries a timeless truth. Fear is not the river, but the way we see it. In our modern lives, we face rivers of our own deadlines that loom like storms, relationships that feel like uncharted waters, dreams that seem just out of reach. But like Arjuna, we can learn to build our rafts to cross with courage, one paddle at a time. Let's explore the first of 5 Buddhist insights this parable offers, a gentle guide to quieting the storms of fear and anxiety. Arjun's fear by the riverbank wasn't the water itself, but the story he told himself about it. This is the first Buddhist insight. Fear is not the event, but the narrative we weave around it. In the teachings of the Buddha, this is tied to the idea of dependent origination. Our suffering arises from the way we perceive and interpret the world. Arjuna saw the river and imagined drowning, failure, loss. His fear was born not from the water's rush, but from the thoughts that rushed through his mind. Think of your own life. How often does a challenge, a work project, a difficult conversation, an uncertain future grow heavy because of the story you tell? A deadline becomes, "I'll never get this right and everyone will see me fail." A strained relationship becomes, "They'll never understand me and I'll be alone." These stories aren't truth. They're shadows cast by our minds. The Buddha taught that by seeing these thoughts for what they are, fleeting, impermanent, we can begin to loosen their hold. In my years of listening to others, I've seen this truth unfold. A young woman once shared how her fear of public speaking kept her from chasing her dreams. Each time she imagined standing before a crowd, her mind spun tales of stumbling words and judging eyes. But when she paused to question that story, to ask, "Is this certain, or is it just a thought?" she found space to breathe. She began to reframe her narrative. "I may not be perfect, but I have something to share." With practice, she spoke, and her fear softened, not because the stage changed, but because her story did. You can do this too. The next time anxiety rises, pause. Notice the story you're telling yourself. Is it a deadline that feels like a judgment? A choice that feels like a cliff? Write it down just as it is. Then, with a gentleness you'd offer a dear friend, ask, "What if I told a different story? Instead of 'I'll fail,' try 'I'll do my best.' And that's enough. Instead of 'I'm not ready,' try 'I'm learning,' and that's progress." This small act of mindfulness, of seeing your thoughts as passing clouds, can shift the weight of fear. It's not about denying the river's roar, but about choosing not to let it define you. This insight is a quiet invitation to see fear not as a wall, but as a story you can rewrite. As we carry Arjuna's journey forward, let's turn to the next lesson. His story offers a lesson about taking the first step, even when it feels imperfect. As Arjuna stood by the river, his hands trembling with the weight of his fear, the monk's words cut through his doubt, "Build a raft. It need not be perfect, only enough to carry you." This is the second Buddhist insight. Courage lies in taking imperfect action. In the teachings of the Buddha, this is the principle of virya, effort, the energy to move forward even when the path feels uncertain. Arjuna's raft was rough, woven from scattered branches and fragile vines, far from the sturdy vessel he might have wished for. Yet it was enough. He didn't wait for the perfect moment or the perfect craft. He acted, and in that action, he found his way. In our lives, fear often keeps us rooted in place, waiting for certainty that never comes. We delay starting a new project because we don't feel ready. We avoid a difficult conversation because the words aren't perfect. We dream of change, a new career, a healthier life, a deeper connection, but we hesitate, believing we need more skill, more time, more confidence. The Buddha's wisdom reminds us that perfection is an illusion, a trap that feeds anxiety. The raft doesn't need to be flawless. It only needs to float. I've seen this truth in countless stories. A man once told me of his dream to write a book, a story he'd carried in his heart for years. But fear held him back, fear that his words wouldn't be good enough, that others would judge him. One day he began with a single sentence scribbled in a quiet moment. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. That sentence became a paragraph, then a page, and slowly a book took shape. His fear didn't vanish, but it grew quieter with each small step. Like Arjun's raft, his imperfect action carried him across. You can build your own raft, too. Think of something fear has held you back from a goal, a conversation, a change you long for. What's the smallest step you could take today? If you're anxious about a work task, write one idea. If you're nervous about reaching out to someone, send a simple message, just a few words of kindness. These steps may feel small, even insignificant, but they are the vines and branches of your raft. Each one builds trust in yourself, a quiet strength that grows with every move forward. The beauty of this insight is its simplicity. You don't need to conquer fear all at once. You only need to act, however imperfectly, and let the journey unfold. As Arjun learned to paddle through the river's current, we too can learn to trust the flow of life, a flow that carries us to the next insight, one of surrender. And as Arjun paddled across the raging river, his raft swaying with every wave, he felt the pull of the current, the uncertainty of each moment. Yet with each stroke he began to trust not that the river would calm, but that he could move through it. This is the third Buddhist insight. Trust the journey, for everything is impermanent. The Buddha taught Anika the truth that all things change. The river's roar, the raft's fragility, even Arjun's fear, they were all fleeting, like clouds passing across the sky. By trusting this impermanence, Arjun found the courage to keep going, knowing the storm would not last forever. In our modern lives, anxiety often grows from our resistance to change. We cling to control, trying to predict every outcome, to hold the world still. A job loss feels like the end of stability. A strained relationship feels like a permanent wound. We lie awake, replaying what might go wrong as if worrying could freeze time. But the Buddha's wisdom gently reminds us, nothing is fixed. The challenges we face, the fears that grip us, they too will pass. This isn't a call to give up, but to soften our grip, to trust that life, like a river, flows toward new. I once knew a woman who carried a heavy fear of loss after her father's sudden passing. Every day she worried about her loved ones, her mind spinning with what-ifs. Over time, she began to practice mindfulness, sitting quietly to notice her thoughts without holding on to them. She learned to see her fear as a wave rising, cresting, then fading. This didn't erase her grief, but it helped her trust that even pain changes, that moments of peace could return. Like Arjun, she found strength not in stopping the river, but in moving with it. You can invite this trust into your life too. When anxiety pulls you into thoughts of what might happen, try a simple practice. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and focus on your breath. As thoughts arise, worries, plans, fears, label them gently, thinking, and return to your breath. For just 5 minutes, let your mind be a river, letting thoughts flow without clinging. This practice teaches you that fear is not a wall, but a current, one that shifts and softens with time. This insight is a quiet gift. By trusting impermanence, we find freedom in the flow of life. As Arjun reached the far shore, he discovered something even deeper, a truth about where peace truly lies, a truth that carries us to our next insight. When Arjun's feet touched the far shore, the city of peace glowed not just in the distance, but within him. The river, the raft, the fear they had all led him to a truth he hadn't seen before. The peace he sought was already inside him, waiting to be uncovered. This is the fourth Buddhist insight. The other shore is within you. The Buddha taught dhyana, the practice of meditation and inner stillness, as a path to this inner sanctuary. No matter how wild the world becomes, we carry a quiet space within, a place where fear cannot take root. In our lives today, we often search for peace in far-off places, a better job, a perfect moment, a life without struggle. We scroll through screens, chase achievements, or plan escapes, hoping they'll quiet the anxiety within. But the Buddha's wisdom whispers something different. Peace isn't found out there. It's cultivated here in the stillness of your own heart. When we pause, when we turn inward, we discover a strength that no storm can shake. I recall a young man who felt trapped in a cycle of worry, his days consumed by the pressure of a demanding job. He believed peace would come when he earned a promotion, when life finally slowed down. But when he began a simple meditation practice, just 10 minutes each morning, sitting with his breath, he noticed something shift. The chaos of his day didn't vanish, but he found a calm center, a place to rest amid the storm. Like Arjun, he realized the city of peace wasn't a destination, it was a presence he could carry with him. You can nurture this inner peace too. Start with a small step, find a quiet corner, even for 5 minutes a day. Sit comfortably, let your eyes close, and follow your breath as it moves in and out. If your mind wanders to worries or plans, gently bring it back. You might picture a still lake, its surface calm, even as ripples pass. This practice isn't about escaping fear, but about creating a space where it doesn't rule you. Over time, this inner sanctuary grows, a refuge you can return to when anxiety rises. This insight is a gentle reminder. The peace you seek is closer than you think. As Arjun stood on the shore, he faced one final lesson, a lesson about letting go, a truth that brings us to our final insight. As Arjun stood on the far shore, the city of peace glowing softly around him, he looked back at the raft that had carried him across. It was battered, fraying, no longer needed. He felt a tug to keep it, to hold on to the thing that had brought him here. But the monk's voice echoed in his mind. The raft was never the journey. It was only a tool. This is the fifth Buddhist insight. Let go of what no longer serves you. In the Buddhist teachings, this is aparigraha, non-attachment. Fear lingers when we cling to old stories, habits, or identities that weigh us down. Releasing them opens the way to freedom. In our lives, we hold on to so much that fuels anxiety. It might be a belief I'm not good enough. I must please everyone. It might be a grudge, a past mistake, or a fear of change that keeps us stuck. We carry these like heavy stones, thinking they define us, when in truth, they only hold us back. The Buddha taught that letting go isn't loss. It's liberation, a chance to step lighter into the life we're meant to live. I once knew a woman who carried a fear of failure rooted in a childhood where she felt she could never measure up. That fear followed her into adulthood, making every decision feel like a test she might fail. One day she wrote a letter to herself, naming that fear, thanking it for trying to protect her, and then choosing to let it go. She didn't burn the letter or make a grand gesture, just folded it away and decided to act despite the fear. Slowly she took risks, a new job, a new hobby, a new way of seeing herself. The fear didn't vanish, but it no longer held the reins. You can take this step, too. Reflect on one thing you're holding on to, a worry, a regret, a story about who you are. Write it down as if speaking to an old friend. Acknowledge its place in your life, then give yourself permission to release it. You might say, "I've carried you long enough. I'm ready to move forward." This act doesn't erase the past, but it softens its grip, making space for new possibilities. Like Arjuna leaving the raft behind, you can step into the peace that waits beyond attachment. This insight completes the circle of Arjuna's journey, but it's only the beginning of yours, a beginning we'll weave together in the moments to come. Arjuna's journey across the river wasn't just a crossing of water. It was a crossing into himself, a discovery that peace is not a place, but a way of being. His story reminds us that fear and anxiety, though they feel like towering waves, are teachers in disguise, guiding us toward wisdom if we listen. Let's gather the threads of his journey and weave them into our own lives, finding strength in the lessons he learned. The river of fear flows through all our lives, through the late nights worrying about work, the quiet moments when we doubt our worth, the times we hesitate to love or to dream. But like Arjuna, we can meet these fears with gentle courage. The first insight taught us to see fear as a story, one we can rewrite with kindness. The second showed us the power of imperfect action, of building a raft even when our hands shake. The third invited us to trust life's impermanence, to let the waves of worry pass. The fourth reminded us that peace lives within, a sanctuary we can nurture through stillness. And the fifth urged us to let go, to release the burdens that keep us tethered to old fears. Each of these insights is a paddle for your own raft, a tool to carry you across your rivers. You don't need to master them all at once. Start small, as Arjuna did. Perhaps today you notice one anxious thought and reframe it with compassion. Maybe tomorrow you take one tiny step toward a goal, even if it feels unsteady. Or perhaps you sit for a moment, breathing deeply, letting the world's rush fade into the background. These acts are not grand, but they are profound. They build a quiet strength, a resilience that grows with every choice to move forward. Let me share a proverb born from the heart of Buddhist wisdom. Asterisk, the river roars, but the heart is still. Carry this with you like a pebble in your pocket, a reminder that no matter how loud fear becomes, you hold a stillness within. Try one of the practices we've explored, writing a new story for your fear, taking a small step, breathing mindfully, or letting go of one heavy thought. Each is a step toward peace, a moment of transformation. As you rest tonight, imagine yourself by your own river. See the water wild, but not your enemy. Picture your raft simple, but enough. Feel the paddle in your hands, the shore drawing near. You are not alone on this journey. The wisdom of ages travels with you, lighting the way. Take one step, one breath, one moment at a time, and know that peace is closer than you think. And so we come to the end of Arjun's story, but not the end of your journey. The river, the raft, the monk's gentle wisdom, they linger like a soft glow, inviting you to carry their lessons into your days. Fear and anxiety may visit again, as they do for all of us, but now you hold 5 insights to meet them with grace. Rewrite the stories that weigh you down. Build your raft, however imperfect. Trust the flow of life's impermanence. Nurture the peace within you. Let go of what no longer serves. These are not just lessons from an ancient parable. They are tools for living, for finding balance in a world that often feels unsteady. Tonight, as you drift toward sleep, let these truths settle into your heart. Picture yourself stepping lightly like Arjun on the far shore, knowing that each moment of courage, each pause for stillness, brings you closer to your own city of peace. If a worry stirs, whisper to it. Asterisk, the river roars, but my heart is still. Try one small practice tomorrow, perhaps a mindful breath, a reframed thought, or a single step towards something you feared. These moments are seeds, and with time they grow into a life of greater calm and purpose. This journey is yours, but you don't walk it alone. Share this story with someone who might need its light, or revisit it when your own river feels too wide. Each time you do, you'll find new wisdom, new strength. Rest now, knowing you carry the tools to cross any river, one paddle, one breath, one truth at a time.